Hello and welcome. In this video, we will have a look at how to launch an ICO in under 15 minutes with zero coding. This is a beginner's guide. So this is a simplified view of an ICO workflow. You have an idea and would like to raise some capital to build your product. You launch an ICO on the Ethereum network. Your investors send you Ethereum and receive your tokens. You then use the Ethereum to build your project and deliver. So in this video, we'll be focusing on this green box, which is how to launch an ICO on the Ethereum network. Traditionally, this would be done using Solidity and a bunch of programming, but in this example, we'll look at a zero coding option using dApp. Okay, so before we proceed, we'll have to agree on the tokenomics, which is basically how many tokens are you planning to sell, what would be the price of the token, what would be the name, the ticker. So for this example, we're going to have a token called the 15 min token with the ticker code of 15 min, a max cap of 5 million, 10 million tokens, 5 cents per the token approximately. We also have to have a distribution of the tokens upfront. Usually we'd reserve a certain percentage for the founders of the team, which is vested over a period of years to ensure there is commitment from the team to deliver on the project. We reserve a certain amount of fund for marketing, community management. We would also then structure the sales into different tiers so that the early investors are given a better rate than the late investors. Okay, moving on. So these are the steps which you're going to do now. We'll install the MetaMask, which is a browser plugin to access the Ethereum network. We'll then connect to the testnet because we don't want to be spending real money for this example. We'll get some free Ethereum from a faucet. We'll then launch the ICO using the POA dApp and then have a Crowdsale page. We'll then send in Ethereum as a client and test how we receive tokens. We'll also touch upon what are the changes to be done if you want to launch this on the mainnet. Alright then. So fire up Chrome browser and navigate to metamask.io. Click on Get Chrome Extension. Click on Add to Chrome, Add Extension. Good, it's done. So click on this icon here. First time you open it up, you'll have to accept the terms and conditions. Good. You'll have to choose a password. Click on Create. You'll be given a 12-word recovery phrase. Please save this in a safe place. This is what you will use to recover your account in case it's lost. Click on I've copied it somewhere. Great. So what you have now is your own Ethereum wallet, which is connected to the main network. You click on View Account on Etherscan. This last part here after the address is your Ethereum wallet address, which has 0 Ether as of now and no tokens. So for this example, we'll be switching to a test network. To do this, you click on this arrow here, change to custom RPC and copy in this link. All the links are in the description of the video. Click on Save. You then connect it to the test network, but we still have 0 Ethereum. So we'll go to a test faucet to get some Ether. Make sure you've copied the Ether address and you key in the Ether address and click for your request for test Ether. It's successfully done. Now I'd repeat this process a bunch of times so that I have sufficient test Ethereum. Otherwise I'd have to use lower transaction fees, which would slow down the process. So let's do this a bunch of times and top up our account with let's say 1 or 2 Ether. Let's do it one more time. Okay, so this is the transaction confirmation, and if you go back to MetaMask now, you will see that you have 2 Ether. Perfect. Good. So the next step is we launch the ICO Wizard from POA network. You click on Crowdsale, click on Continue, and in this screen you will give the name for your ICO, which is the 15 mint ICO, or let's say 15 mint token. The ticker code is 15 mint. The decimals would define how divisible your token is, so you can go up to 18 decimal points. I'm going to keep it the default, which is 18. Certain tokens have lesser than that. Now the next thing is the reserve tokens. So remember when we had to reserve a certain amount of our funds to the founders fund, marketing fund, this is where you would define that. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to keep, let's say, 25% of the total funds into our founder's wallet. To get the address, I'm going to go here and put this here. Again, this can be split as 10% to the founders fund, 15% for marketing, whichever distribution you want to achieve. Okay, so now that I have reserved 25%, 75% will be available for the crowd sale. Click on Continue, and this is the wallet where the Ethereum will be sent when the client or the investor contributes. The gas price is ideally set as normal or fast. This is how much gas you would burn to send back the tokens to the investor. For the sake of this example, I'm going to keep it at fast and expensive. Investor min cap is what's the minimum amount of ether you're expecting. If you don't define this, you might run into problems like if somebody sends you 0.0001 ether, then you'll be probably spending more money sending the token. So I'm going to define this as 0.1. You can have a whitelisting if you want to a certain number of people, and then we'll have different tiers. So you can have an initial pre-sale tier with a certain rate, which is much better than the crowd sale. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to keep this as a single tier, which is the 15 mint crowd sale, and choose this as on, so that you as the contract owner can modify the start time, end time of your ICO rate after publishing the contract. I'm going to leave this at the default for the example, which is the start time and the end time. I'm going to keep this as 1000, which means if they send in 1 Ethereum, they'll get 1000 tokens. And this is the amount of tokens which are going to be sold in this tier. So since I only have one tier, I'm going to spend 75% of my tokens, which is 7.5 million out of 10 million. So I'd configure that here, which is here 7.5 million. Again, you can have multiple tiers if you want to, for pre-sale, crowd sale 2, and so on. Click Continue, and now we'll proceed with the process of deploying the contract. So you will be prompted to sign each transaction and spend the money for this. I'm going to fast forward through this because all these steps essentially will prompt you with the MetaMask box for confirmation. Okay, so we're at the last step of the smart contract deployment. Click on Submit, which means the transfer of the wallet is done. All the transactions are signed successfully. At this stage, you can download the source code, which will give you the actual Solidity files and the text files which are related for your reference. Click on Continue. Great. So the smart contract is now deployed, and this is your crowd sale page. Ideally, you would have a website for your ICO, which has the details of your team, your product view, vision, and all of that. And when the client or the investor clicks on buy your tokens or invest, you would redirect them to this page, which is the Crowdsale page, where they can see what's the amount of Ethereum which is already raised, what's the token address, how many tokens are available, which is your supply, what's your Ethereum goal, and they would choose the invest option. So this is the URL which you need to save as your Crowdsale address. Let's now participate in this Crowdsale as a client. To do that, we just since we already have MetaMask, we'll just go ahead and click invest. Of course, if the client or the investor does not have MetaMask, there is also a way to participate. You would simply send in Ethereum from any of your Ethereum wallet, which is ERC20 compliant, which means they can receive the tokens. Of course, you should not do this from exchange wallet. They would send Ethereum to this address with the additional data which is mentioned below, and then they would receive the tokens. Okay, let's go ahead with the simple one, which is using MetaMask. Let's say I want to buy 500 tokens. Click contribute, and it will prompt me for sending the Ethereum. Done. So the tokens are purchased. We can see the confirmation here. To view the tokens, you would add the token address into MetaMask. You would go to tokens, click add token, add the address, click on add. You can see that you have the 500 tokens which were purchased using your Ethereum. Perfect. So if you're the contract owner, if you go back to the wizard, you will be able to choose the contract which you already deployed and modify the details if you had turned on the allow modify feature before. Great. So let's do a quick recap. POA allows you to launch an ICO with no coding. It's easy. It allows you tiered sale, whitelisting, time sales. There is a possibility to test. It's inexpensive. It's open source. You get to download the source code, and you can have the token distribution to multiple wallets, which we saw as the different wallets which receive the different set of tokens. Good. So this was on the test network. How would you do this on a mainnet or a live Ethereum network? It's quite simple. You just go and switch back to main Ethereum network. Of course, you would need Ethereum to do this. You go back to the wizard and launch the smart contract. It's exactly the same amount of steps, and that your token will be your smart contract will be launched. So I find this quite easy to deploy an ICO if you do not have any special requirements. Now, of course, if you need special requirements, you'll need to program your own Solidity contract, which takes care of special features. But if you stick to the basics, which is tiered sale, whitelisting, timed sale, distribution of tokens to different wallets, then this is it. And remember that the reserved tokens are only distributed after the end of the crowd sale when you finalize the contract. So that's about it, and thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, please do like and subscribe. I'll be creating more content on blockchain and related. Thank you.